All right. Welcome to the first live cast of the Inked Panels Graphic Novel Book Club. I'm Dan, and my co-host is Gambit.
Hi.
Regrettably, we do not have the Comic Queen joining us. She had a personal matter come up, and it's more important than her hanging out with us talking about a graphic novel from years ago. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. There might be some hiccups during this because, well, it's the first time that we've done it.
Sorry.
Don't do that. So I'm going to start out with Gambit. What are your thoughts on this book?
God. All right. So first, I read this book when it came out. It was almost 15 years ago. And I remember it was one of those times that I would get the book and I would read it immediately in the parking lot before I got home. I just couldn't wait to get home or work at that time. I was working at that time, and I would read the issue right there that Wednesday because it was like, I can't believe this book is that good. And it is that good. And I reread it yesterday and today, and almost 15 years later, I think it's even better. It still reads well. It's still beautiful to look at. It's still interesting, and it still made me cry. I think it made me cry this time more than the first time.
Brad Meltzer, he hadn't really worked on comics that much. He basically did thriller novels. I worked at a bookstore for 20 years, so his books kind of I saw all the time. And then he did Green Arrow following Kevin Smith, and it was a decent run, not a great run, but you could see him kind of feeling it out and kind of learning how to write comics at the time from doing novels. And then this book comes out, and first thing, it's a murder mystery. And it's a murder mystery that chugs along and keeps you guessing. Weirdly, like him, I read this again yesterday, so I was fresh starting this. And I actually got hit in the feels a little bit more this time than I had in the past. Yes. Scenes that really didn't hit me before hit me a little bit more. First thing I will continue to talk about is Rags Morales' art is incredible in this book. He's one of those underappreciated pencilers. He hasn't really worked on the best books. He kind of, I wouldn't say a journeyman, but I mean, I remember him from the Valiant days when they were at their peak working on Turok. It's him, Bart Sears, even Joe Quesada back then was on Valiant. And this book, he has some of the best facial expressions of pain you will ever see conveyed on a page, especially without getting too far in the book. Elongated Man has two of the greatest facial expression scenes that I think I've ever seen on the page, and the way they managed to work it around his powers, just a phenomenal job. And Brad Meltzer got some heat because of some of the things in this book, and even the people at DC kind of told him to, kind of tone it down a little bit. But he was excited about what he was doing, and I can't blame him. And he did a phenomenal job on this, even with the Femmes and Fridges backlash aside, which I get some of it maybe a little bit overreaction. I don't want to downplay it because I understand where they were coming from.
Yeah.
If you just pick up this book in the first issue and read the first bit of it, it's basically Ralph telling another hero, Flamebird, the love story of how him and his wife came together, and sets the plate for this great romance. And by the end of the issue 1, you're in emotional pain.
Oh, yeah. I like how in just a few pages they managed to express how this relationship, how beautiful this relationship is between these two characters. In just a few pages, they managed to make me feel for these two characters more than, I don't know. I've read other comic books that I've read it for years and months, and you just don't feel anything for those characters, and they manage in just a few pages to make you feel something for these characters. And by, like you say, by the end of issue 1, I was crying again. It's like, oh my god, why?
So the whole way they're setting up, he's talking to this other hero about how he met his wife and how, he was the lesser hero in Central City back then because the Flash was the main hero. And there they are at this party. The Flash shows up. Everybody's paying attention to him, but his wife, who eventually married, is there just looking lovingly at him. And he goes in this analogy of how some people love chocolate and vanilla, and some like Rocky Road. And he was Rocky Road. And as they're about to bust this crime about to go down, an alert goes off from his wife calling and saying, to come help. So he just panics and he asks Flamebird, who is on fire when she carries people and flies, to carry him, even if it's going to burn his hands. By the time he gets there, his apartment's destroyed, and he finds his wife burned to a crisp.
You know what gets me about that whole scene is that he's listening to this happening while she's being attacked. She's still on the phone, on the communicator, and he's listening this thing happening while he's going to his house.
In my opinion, one of the greatest emotional scenes that can be caught with the way the face is contorting and falling apart while he's holding his wife.
So one of the remember I told you while I was rereading, I was taking pictures of key moments, and this is one of those moments. All three things showing the same image right now.
So as it goes into the next issue, the alert's going off. Everybody in the league's being basically triggered and told what's going on. They start mobilizing because they have all these things set up that if this happens, like Batman's already been to the crime scene investigating, and then Green Arrow shows up with his people, where the Atom's literally going through every rug follicle. The Metal Men are there, the Ray, Mr. Miracle. And from there, we go to another gut-wrenching scene, Sue's funeral. And they talk about how the back corner is the heaviest part of it, but her uncle insists that he carry it, and they have guys who could carry it on their own. And they have all the heroes there. And they talk about how, some people are there to pay their respects. Some people are there just to watch the capes.
You know what I like about that scene? The moment that Wonder Woman it's giving her speech, you don't read the speech. You just read Green Arrow's opinion of the speech, basically. And it says that it's the kind of speech that's quoted in Bartlett's Years from Now. Like he's talking about how good this speech is, and you can see how good that speech is, but you don't actually read about it. You just see it by the way it was drawn and the way the panels flow. That you can tell that it's a deep moment. The expressions, he managed to get the expression, even in the smaller panels, he managed to get those expressions perfectly,
There's another scene now where Elongated Man decides he's going to get up and talk about his wife. And as he's getting up, the tears are flowing, and he's just like, I can't. And everybody's kind of like, come on, just do it. And another one of those scenes where this is a guy whose power is to stretch, and he starts losing control of his powers. It's heart-wrenching. It really is. Like, it just kind of hits you.
It hits hard. Because he can't keep his they say that Green Arrow says he asked Black Canary how was he holding up, and she said he's not doing good, to the point where he can't even hold his shape. And you see it that he's trying so hard, and Atom and Hawkman and Green Arrow are in the background, like you can do this, you got this, but he just can't, and he just melts.
Immediately after, the heroes start mobilizing and going after anybody who can burn somebody, can teleport, and they split up into groups while a certain faction of heroes go and meet the behind the funeral home. And it's Hawkman, the Atom, Zatanna, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Elongated Man, and they basically are making their plan of attack for who they think it is, and they kind of have alluded to it at the end of the last issue that they needed to get Dr. Light. And Hawkman's about to start talking, and all of a sudden he just stops and goes, "Stop right there. I see you, Wally." And the Flash has been in there vibrating back and forth. Kind of a cool scene.
I like that Hawkman can see it. Just before that scene, before we move on. What I like about this beginning of the second issue is that you see how, I think this is the first clue on the book. I think this is the first clue because you see how Palmer is just looking frantically for what do you call these things?
Crossbow.
A crossbow. Thank you. to give it to his ex-wife, although they're divorced. He's still looking out for her, and I think this is the first clue on the mystery of the book, but we'll get to that later. Then it comes to the scene where they're explaining how Hawkman can see things that not others can see, and he basically sees Flash moving so fast that nobody else can see him except Hawkman. I think that's a really badass moment.
Yeah,
one of those that I took a picture of.
I really liked it. I thought that was a great scene. We also, before I get too far into this, I need to talk about
this panel.
Well, no, Michael Turner's covers.
Oh yeah,
are phenomenal for this series. He's deceased. I think he's been dead for almost 12 years now.
Already,
or
Jesus,
10 years. Anyway, he was a young artist who just went too soon due to cancer. Phenomenal talent, and this was possibly one of his few last works because he was only doing covers for a while because he was that ill. It's kind of sad to see at times because, you think about where he'd be now. But I want to touch on that because he's someone that needs to be talked about and kept alive. Alive in our spirit. So after Wally and Green Lantern show up, they start talking about what happened, why they would think it was Dr. Light. And Dr. Light had gotten into the JLA satellite back in the days when they were on a satellite, and he had raped Elongated Man's wife, Sue. And the heroes had come back and caught him in the act. And then he started realizing what their real weakness was. He saw Flash. He's like, "Is that a wedding ring I see bulging out of your glove?"
Yeah.
And at first they're like, "Well, we got to erase his memory." And they're like, "No, this is too much." So they had Zatanna try to fix his brain.
Rewire it.
Sort of.
I have to say that this is one of those issues in this book. What happens next? But after when you're rereading it and you see those panels again, those first few times before they make that decision, he was a sick dude.
He was like a mad dog.
Yeah, he was sick, like legit. I think I would have made the same decision in being in those shoes.
So they ended up having basically a decision to make, and they were split down the middle, and they left the last vote to Flash. To say the least, Green Arrow was not having it, and he punched Hawkman in the face. And you start seeing a rift that was going on between some of them. Flash's wife, Iris, had just passed before that. And he made the vote. Zatanna changed his brain. Because Wally goes, "He's not that vicious. When we're in the Teen Titans, we beat his ass all the time." And they're like, "No, you don't get it."
I like how they explain how lame a character was, for a while, and how they make this character that otherwise would have been lame for I mean, I've always thought Dr. Light was a lame character until this book.
They made him vicious, and then they had the Teen Titans issues where he went after them after this.
Yeah.
Just they made some good choices in this. That this book sets up almost 2 years worth of reading between Infinite Crisis, Countdown, and everything else.
Oh, yeah, yes.
We then go on to see the villains have the old Justice League satellite of all things, and they have a club up there, and they have their own version of Oracle. So for those not familiar, Oracle basically is this formerly Batgirl who had been crippled, who now is this great hacker and information broker for the heroes. So they have this person called the Calculator, who was a lame villain who heard the whole story of Oracle and became the villain's version.
The villain's version.
So up in the satellite, you have Mirror Master, Deadshot, Deathstroke, Merlin, and Captain Boomerang. Captain Boomerang basically is the uncle who comes visits and never leaves. He's Randy Quaid from the Vacation movies.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Light finds out the heroes are going after him and teleports in and basically says, "I'll pay whatever, someone save me." The heroes are on their way to go find Dr. Light at his last place, and it's in Roxbury, Massachusetts. They go there, and Elongated Man stretches in, and just as quick as he stretches in, his ass is kicked out, and you see some boots come out. It's Deathstroke. And Deathstroke has one of the most incredible fights with the Justice League.
This panel.
You start realizing how badass Deathstroke really is. And he hands their ass to them up until he kind of gets into a battle of wills with Green Lantern to see if he could take over the ring. And Green Arrow jumps on top and shoves an arrow in his eye.
Yeah, it was a really, really, really well thought out fight, you know?
He manages to... They set up that he's one of the greatest tacticians. And he gets it so that he knows exactly where Flash is going to run, gets his sword behind him, and stabs him right in the kidney.
Yeah. Because that's what you do when you're Deathstroke. He punches Satana right here in the stomach.
Makes her throw up so she couldn't talk.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Cuts Huxman's wings off.
Green Arrow stabs him in the eye and makes him lose it.
Yeah, I mean, he stabs him in the eye that he didn't already have.
Yeah,
you know? But I think that one of my favorite parts here is how he takes down the Atom and Hugman at the same time. He with a laser pointer. With a laser pointer. And then after that was the Green Lantern moment where he controls Kyle Reiner's ring without even having it on. He says, Kyle asks him, "What are you doing?" He says, "Testing a theory," you know, and he basically turns off the Green Lantern's ring while the Green Lantern is still wearing it. You know?
The heroes go and basically curb stomp him after that. And while this is going on, the Dr. Light has a flashback and gets his memories back of them attacking him on the satellite.
Yes.
And he creates this giant light blast. And when they're all able to see again, Superman's right in their face.
It's the moment of the flashback. What's cool about that flashback moment is that you read the scene a few pages ago, and Batman is never in those pages. And in this panel, you see in that flashback, you see Batman. When I was reading this, and I noticed that, I went back home when I got home and I checked the first issue and reread the book to see. And I thought at that moment that it was just that it was in his head, that's how just he remembered something, or that it's like, you know how you remember things and they're not exactly like that, you know? So I thought that was what happened, and I honestly thought that it was just a mistake on the page.
No, that comes back. We get more of the discussing about what's going on. Tim Drake and his dad have some interesting discussion about them, where Tim's got a black eye and his dad's like, "Where'd you get that?" Captain Boomerang's kind of looking for his son that he knew that he had, but there's a rumor that's golden gliders, but not really. And at the end of chapter 3, you see Jean Loring, the Adam's ex-wife, getting hung from a door. And issue 4 has the greatest Michael Turner cover, in my opinion. This Wonder Woman, it's iconic. It's great. And we follow up. The Atom manages to get in and save his ex-wife.
He gets there just in time.
Now Superman's involved with investigations, and because he's a Boy Scout, he knows exactly what kind of knot they use to try and hang her. A bowline knot with a Dutch Marine twist. He knows this because he was a Boy Scout, of course.
That was a great panel, by the way.
It was. Wonder Woman goes with Green Arrow to the prison to find Slipknot, who had gotten his arm blown off. If you saw the Suicide Squad movie, he was the first one to die.
Ah, right.
And she uses the lasso of truth on him, and they get all the information out. The villains are also like, okay, this is bad. This is going to come back on us. We got to figure out what's going on. And Captain Boomerang meets his son, and he gets in his head that he's going to do something to make him proud.
To make him proud, yes.
Takes a job to go to Tim Drake's dad's apartment. And Tim Drake's dad also gets this box that has a pistol in it, and it said, "Protect yourself." Starts going on. As that's going on, the heroes are still shaking down people. Superman, a couple of the other heroes find Deadshot, the Monocle, and Merlin. And Green Lantern puts Deadshot into a one of the little globes kind of to stop him. He tells him, "Don't shoot in there." Deadshot shoots himself right in the neck, gets Kyle to drop the dome, and then shoots him. And then he runs right into Superman.
You know, the thing is that in during all this, people like Lois Lane and Tim Drake's dad start to get notes and they're starting to feel afraid for their loved ones, because this obviously they are the targets. So obviously that's who they're going. That's why they're trying to protect, you know. And I lost my train of thought.
Well, while all that's going on, Dr. Midnight is doing the autopsy of Sue, still trying to figure out what exactly killed her, because they figured out she was already dead before she got burned.
Yes.
Batman is taken off with Tim.
Firestorm blows up in this issue. I forgot about this. Firestorm just dies in this series. Like, oh, okay. I mean, he died doing a heroic.
Got stabbed by Shadow Thief.
Right.
So Batman and Tim are doing their duties around the city. They get things saying there's someone at your dad's apartment trying to break in.
Yeah.
And Tim's like, "You got to save my dad." And Batman just has that look of, "Oh God, not again." So they're coming back, and they're listening to Captain Boomerang breaking into his dad's apartment. And his dad jumps in, shoots Captain Boomerang. And as Captain Boomerang's dying, he throws his boomerang, and it goes straight into the chest of Jack Drake.
Right in the chest. In the heart. I mean, it's Captain Boomerang. He was not going to miss that.
And Tim, they finally get there, and Tim's running up the stairs. He's taking off his Robin costume, and he walks in. His dad's got the boomerang sticking straight out of his chest, and he's trying to pull it out. He already knows he's dead.
Yeah, that's super sad. That's actually super sad.
And a part that really got me, that I was not expecting to affect me so much, was Batman holding him, saying, "I've got you. I've got you."
Yeah.
And
this one here. Wait, this way.
Aha! You're being called out, Gambit.
Who's calling me out? No, you're not allowed. I haven't yawned. Did I?
Anyway,
wow.
Thanks, Yenny, for pointing that out. And on the page at the bottom it says Batman and Robin, orphans. Captain Boomerang's son goes to the crime scene, and basically he sees Batman in there. He's like, "What's he doing there?" And the FBI is like, "I don't know what you're talking about. He's not here. There's no one here but us agents. Why don't you go home? Pick a fight there." And Green Arrow's reading the paper, and he's drinking his coffee and has the obituary for Tim Drake's dad. It's kind of that he hugs his son, and then everybody's kind of looking at statues of their fallen or remembering their dead loved ones.
It's a montage of all the people remembering their dead ones and loved ones, and their dead loved ones.
Deadshot, Monocle, and Merlin, because they were Suicide Squad members, they're all let loose. And Deadshot's doing a little.
This page.
Yes, Dr. Light. And then we kind of get Captain Boomerang's son now as the new Captain Boomerang, and he's practicing and getting ready. Green Arrow is on top of a building, and Deathstroke's coming behind him, and then he leaves an arrow with his old mask through it and says, "We're not done."
Yeah.
And now Flash calls out Green Arrow and said, "When we saw that Mirage, I saw Batman there. He wasn't there in the story you told."
He saw the same panel I saw.
So, they start going, he's like, "Well, wasn't the only vote we took that night."
Oh, and yeah, man.
Wally's going, "Wait, oh God, you took his memories. You took Batman's memories." Batman came in, saw what they were doing, and basically started swinging and throwing batarangs.
I mean, it's what you do when you're Batman. You get there and you see something wrong happening. What are you gonna do? You start swinging punches and throwing batarangs. It's what you do. What do you expect?
Green Arrow took a swing at Hawkman again. This goes on for a while.
Yeah. No respect for Hawkman.
Basically, he's like, "Well, Barry never would have done that." And he's like, "You think he hasn't done the same to us? He'd never do that."
Yeah, right.
Batman's still doing investigating, looking for the Calculator's lair, but it's not
there late.
And it said bats were not all morons.
Something, going back to the first issue real quick before I forget, something that Green Arrow mentions when they're talking about, because they go straight to the funeral basically in 2 pages, and one of the things he says that after Clark's death, they were better at it. They were more organized, and things move faster, and people knew what they needed to do. And I think that was pretty cool that they acknowledged, the death of Superman. Because this feels like it could be a standalone story, when you finish.
Very much.
You don't need all the continuity from before or after,
So Dr. Midnight, this whole storyline, every issue they kind of check in with him, and he's doing the autopsy of Sue, and they calls Mr. Terrific, and he's like, "What am I even looking at?" He goes, "Her mid-medulla. This is her brain." And Batman at the same time is kind of doing the same investigation. And he's like, "Look at those tiny black spots." She had a block in the bloodstream, their mid-medulla, which cut off the blood supply to her brain. A block in her brain, so that's how she died. And they zoom in, those 2 tiny indentations, they're footprints. That's what caused the block in her bloodstream, and that's what killed Sue Dibney. Someone was standing in there.
That's super cool. That's like, just think about it for a second.
So they realized it was someone who was able to shrink. And Batman's like, Martian Manhunter, you need to find Ray. You got to get him now. Call the Watchtower. Just find him. And the Adam Ray Palmer is there with his ex-wife, and he's
about to get it on.
about to put some Barry White on and get down with it. Let's get it on. Chef will come out. I want to make love to you, woman. So the lights are out. They're about to get it on. And she's like, speaking of which, did they ever find out who wrote that protect yourself note to Jack Drake?
Oh.
And again, the facial expression, he kind of gets like, what? And he goes, no, that's the, how'd you know there was a note?
That's when you hear the scratch on the record player. It's right there. It's like, oh.
So he starts confronting her, and he's like, oh my God, you sent the note in the gun. Calm down. Answer me. And he's starting to get a little cross with her. Then he starts piecing it together. He's like, you found one of my old costumes in the basement, didn't you? And he's like, oh Lord, please tell me you didn't kill her. And then she starts crying. I didn't mean to.
It's an accident.
I missed you. I really missed you. And he's just like, oh God.
Okay, so all she had to do was call him because he obviously wanted to be with her, and all she had to do was call him and say, hey, I miss you. Let's try this again, but no, she had to go in and kill Sue Dibney because killing someone you love from one of the heroes is going to make them get closer to their loved ones.
And so the Atom is able to go through microscopy. He can travel through cell phone lines and phone lines, and it's an interesting way to travel. But so she went to try the same trick and ended up in Sue Dibney's head, and she started to enlarge just a little bit, but it was enough to basically cause a blood blockage
and kill her.
And she had happened to take some other weapons with her just in case to scare her.
Okay, so she cannot claim it was an accident because if it was an accident, you wouldn't have packed a blowtorch shotgun with you. You know what I mean? That's just not. You went there with a purpose. It wasn't just to scare her or just maybe rough her up. No, you went there with the intention to kill her. Come on.
And this is another, once Rags Morales, when they get into, oh God, she's nuts, there is a facial expression that she has while he's talking to her that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
That's a good facial expression.
Oh, again, Rags Morales, the way he's able to get these characters to emote is fantastic. And even like how she did hanging herself was, again, another thing that was just the way they figured out how to do it.
You know what I like about his work in this book specifically is that it feels it's very modern, but it feels like an older, book, like back when Frazetta was doing comic book or the early pulp books, like looks pre-60s, and I think that helps a lot with this story specifically. This work is amazing. That's all I wanted to say, that his work is amazing.
As he's confronting her, he's got this look of fuck you. And she goes, what are you going to do? Punch me in the jaw with a big knockout punch? Take me to the cops and lock me away? I'm your wife. You can't just throw me in a cell and toss the key.
I mean, he did.
And then they go to Arkham. And they're like, Dr. Palmer, you okay? He's like, yeah. And there's this just look of sadness. And he gives the signal device to the doctor at Arkham. And he's like, I don't need it. They don't need me. And he just said, just take care of my wife. And he walks out the door. And as he's walking out,
I love that scene.
As he's walking, he's shrinking down. And the dialogue is, the only thing I know right now is I need to get out and get away by myself. My ex-wife killed one of our best friends. For me, I've never felt so small in my life.
Bleep.
And then he's gone. No one sees him again.
He just shrinks so small. He just disappears.
And then we touch in. We kind of talk to all the characters again, like check in with them, like a table touch. Even the villains. The character it started with, Flamebird, is talking to her dad on the phone. She's like, I know it's been a while. I just want to let you know I'm done. I'm coming home. She's done. She can't do it. Dick Grayson is calling Tim, trying to talk to him. He's basically crying in his bed. He's like, come on, don't shut down. Don't do this. And Green Arrow is telling Ralph, just talk to your wife. And he's like, huh? Just have a discussion, like you're talking to her. And wasn't it Rick Grimes doing that when he's like picking up the phone thinking he's talking to his wife?
Oh, that's true. Oh my God. That is true.
Maybe Kirkman stole it. I don't know.
Huh.
And it ends with Flash talking to Green Arrow and, talking maybe we should meet up for dinner, like they used to. And they go to the flashbacks and you see her stopping Batman, and then they just show Batman again. He's at the grave of his parents. And the Kents are all talking. And there's this Bruce walking up, and he goes up to Wally. Is there a problem, Wally? Nothing. Say what you're thinking. Nothing. No problem at all. And Batman's got that. Come on. Say what you mean.
Say what you mean. Yeah, they erased part of Batman's memory. So they erased the moment that he caught them erasing Dr. Light's memory and personality when they would literally rewire him. And he had an issue with that. And they erased those few minutes of him catching them doing all this stuff. And I think that's what people had problems with.
And it's the next year and a half of storyline folds out of this with Batman now completely paranoid about them.
Which
Wonder Woman kills Maxwell Lord.
Yes.
It's everything leading into Infinite Crisis where like the Trinity don't like each other. And it all kind of spawns out of this, which the Countdown to Infinite Crisis has one of the best Blue Beetle stories ever because he's basically James Bond, and he also gets shot in the head.
Wow. Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
This ends with kind of a sweet part where the epilogue is Ralph having a discussion with his dead wife. Basically, he's telling her how his day is, and then going to bed, and he's like, "Good night, Sue. I love you too." And it ends there, and there's a little bit of a sweetness to that where he took the advice and he's not as distraught as he was. A little heartbreaking still, but I thought it was well told. It still bothers me that people, when Heroes in Crisis came out, were automatically going, oh God, it's just like Identity Crisis. It's not even close.
I think what they were trying to say with it's like Identity Crisis is that they wanted to make it a little bit more personal, I guess, because with the other one with Heroes in Crisis, I get what they were trying to accomplish with that book. I just feel like it missed the mark in some areas. It still had some cool things, but we're here for Identity Crisis.
It was just something that was part of like the Comic Queen. I went into a rant about it on ours. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that.
No, it's not the same at all.
Hey there, Perry Comics. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. So
that's pretty cool.
First live cast. Anyway, what was your grade on this if you're gonna grade it?
Oh, this for me, it's one of those perfect books. I think this book has everything I want on a graphic novel. Like I feel like I don't need to read 20 comics before it, and I feel like I don't need to read 25 comics after it. That with the information that's here, you can get enough to piece things together and use your imagination. It has action. It has obviously it's a murder mystery. It has suspense, mystery, action. It has drama and a lot of expression. Man, it has a lot of expression. It's beautiful. For me, it's what I can't grade it. It's past that.
It's a solid 8 for me.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason why even it would be probably like a high 9 for me, it's just when they piece it together, it kind of goes too quick.
Yeah, that is true. That last issue, that last issue goes when they finally tell you when they finally give you, well, there was a small person inside that brain. From that to the end, it's like,
but the Morales art, the Turner covers, Meltzer, I thought, pieced a good mystery together.
oh yeah, it made me buy some of his books.
A little bit of a stumble near the end, which again, everything leading up to that though was great. It's just, oh, with footprints are there, let's go right in, and then you're right to Ray Palmer kind of confronting her.
I feel like if they would have played that and make you think that it was Palmer for too long, that it was the Atom for too long, it would have been dragging it out. I can see why you would try to resolve that a little bit faster than usual, because I think that at that point it'll be dragging it out. It's like, no, it's impossible that Palmer that the Atom did that, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, kind of at one point when I was reading, I was like, how are they not already at, Adam's place or at the Ivy University, or, it just feels like they would have already been mobilized in there by the time. Instead, we get this huge almost fuck scene between him and his wife where it's like, uh-oh.
I like to think that that's happening all at the same time, that while they're trying to get it on, giggity, all these things were happening at the same time. Like, all of them came to the same conclusion, more or less at the same time. But of course, obviously, being a comic and the way it's, pages are drawn, you can see it like it's happening in a different sequence. But I feel like all those pages, like, while they were trying to get it on, these two were in the autopsy room, like, oh shit, with their minds being blown, and
then Batman and the other
Batman is in the other room, like, oh shit, my mind is being blown. And when Atom is piecing things together, they're trying to get out the door, like, hey, call him, find him. But of course, you're not gonna find him because he's trying to get it on.
Batman's like, fuck, why did I think of this earlier? For me, this is, if you haven't read this, it's a buy. Even if you have read it, it's a great book to have in your collection.
Yes, it is a great book to have.
Check out some of Brad Meltzer's other novels. There's a great one about basically a secret history written into where Siegel and Schuster created Superman.
That's my favorite. Book of Lies.
Book of Lies, yes. Definitely a book to read. Rags Morales, check out some of his stuff. Again, he's one of those underrated artists that kind of slides under a little bit the radar, but there was no better work for him than this. Between the writing, the art, and the way his art moved the story along, which I'm a huge fan of. If you're an artist, don't have the story stop dead. I feel like Alex Ross does that, and Jim Lee to a certain point, where they're not moving the story along. It's just, ooh, pretty.
Yeah, it's just a nice panel for the sake of drawing a nice panel.
So, as we always do, now we're gonna start talking about. Now we've talked about the past. Let's talk about what we are reading now.
I'm reading. I'm up to date. I'm up to date with all the X-Men stuff that's coming out, like all of it. I can't believe I had time to be up to date, and I got up to date on Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian, and I think that's it. I'm still behind on Thor, though. I'm still on War of the Realms.
Oh, Perry, you got to pick up this book, man. It's great. Definitely, it's worth the read.
Oh, wow. Yes, dude. Oh, to read this for the first time. Holy shit, man. You don't know what you're missing. I hope you enjoy it. I hope when you open this book, you're like, as mind blown as I was when I read it.
He's another YouTuber that he's very busy on YouTube a lot. Right now, I'm reading a lot of horror. Basket Full of Heads by Joe Hill from his imprint. I just read Something is Killing the Children, and Once in Future, nothing better than evil King Arthur coming back to rid England of Oh yeah,
I want to read that.
Boom Studios, all of a sudden, they got artists and talent over there. Kieran Gillen's doing it with this artist, Dan Mora.
Nice.
The Something's Killing the Children's with James Tinian. There were Far Sector by Jamal Campbell. I really love this Young Animal book with this alternate Green Lantern.
Oh yeah,
that was the one I was showing you the other day.
You were telling me about it. I read Batman's Grave.
Batman's Grave's awesome.
Before coming here today, I read Batman's Grave. Finally read it.
Sean Gordon Murphy wrote with Klaus Janson doing art with Von Fries.
I missed
for
that
the
one.
White Knight.
Was it good?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's just a one shot for that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely loved it. This alternate take of Fries where his dad was a baron during Nazi Germany. And he was kind of like the Oscar Schindler there, where he was hiding his Jewish friends there. And Victor had to sneak them out. And then he ends up working for Thomas Wayne. Yeah. It was a great story and how they kind of get from point A to B.
I have to check it out. I missed that one when I went. It wasn't at the comic store when I went on Wednesday. Hopefully it'll be there this Wednesday.
I just finished Absolute Carnage 5.
I haven't read issue 4 yet.
It kind of ended not fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
It's more my thing. What are you looking forward to? New stuff coming out.
I'm looking forward to that Batman's Grave issue to come out, and I'm looking forward to what's up with the X-Men. You know, that last issue of X-Force. That means the only issue that's been out was actually pretty cool. I've actually been enjoying them. Even the Fallen Angels.
Angels was the one that was the bridge too far in Excalibur.
Really? I think okay. So Excalibur feels to me like a Demon Knights book from New 52.
A little bit, yeah.
Because I guess I'm not used to the magic, so much magic in the X-Men. You know, for me, X-Men were always a little bit more. I guess where I started reading X-Men was in Uncanny 275 with Sheer Empire, and so for me it's more sci-fi oriented in a sense, you know, and more action driven than magic, you know. So having so much magic in Excalibur threw me off a bit, but I did enjoy it.
Doomsday Clock 12. I want to be done with this series. It's been 2 years.
God, 2 years.
I still
Yes, I'm looking forward to
that. I keep saying I will wait as long just to get Gary Frank's art because it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I really just want this book to be done and see where they're going from there.
So it's because Gary Frank is taking his sweet time drawing it, or
something's going on because every Jeff Johns book has been delayed. Shazam's been delayed.
Oh right, I forgot about Shazam.
It's 2 months late. It's finally coming out. There's something going on, and I can't put my finger on it because every Jeff Johns book seems to be delayed unless he's just too busy. Gary Frank has took the blame for Doomsday Clock that he wants to get it right, which the way it's looked.
I mean, I get it. I am, as an artist, I want to on a project like this, I would like to give my 100%. You know, like I'm gonna draw those pages, like I'm gonna spend as much time as I can in those pages. So I get it. I kind of get it, and I don't mind. I don't mind waiting for a good book if it's gonna be a good book. You know?
I'm terrified of Dark Knight, the Golden Child.
Is that
It's the newest one, and the fact it's Raphael Grandpa doing the art on it does not get me excited.
Yes. I'm not looking forward to that one.
The fact it's called The Golden Child. All I think is that Eddie Murphy movie.
Yes,
and that alone scares me.
Yeah.
They're also. I am still looking forward to that Mark Silvestri Batman book that my friend saw the art for pages from.
He posted a sketch, I think yesterday of Batman.
I don't know when it's ever coming out. I'd like it to come out just so I can have it because I like Mark Silvestri. Even the Image guys, when they started up, a lot of them said he was the best illustrator out of all of them. And that's saying a lot.
I've always loved his work. I still have that Cyberforce run from 1 to issue 25, I think. That original run was pretty cool. I did enjoy those books a lot.
It's going on what Perry said. Like Doomsday Clock. If had I known it was gonna be 2 years in between, I probably would have just waited for the big monster paperback at the end.
Right? Yeah, but it's so far away. Like,
I mean, I know I'm gonna buy an absolute edition when it comes out just to have bigger pages of the art.
Yes, I mean that's one of those that you have to buy the artist books. I have one of Daredevil and one on The Dark Knight Returns. I have it like that, and those books are so beautiful. This would be a good book to have that.
There is an absolute of it.
There is?
Yeah. I am looking forward to 4 more weeks, and we're done with Tom King's run on Batman. And then we have James Tynion.
Let it go.
I'm not going to let it go. 30 years I collected, and he broke me. Like Bane, who has not appeared in the City of Bane, he broke me.
Oh, man.
Yes, I hate Read the fucker. I don't pay for it, but I hate Read the shit out of it.
Come on.
I'm waiting because I'm kind of upset they're having another Scott Snyder student writing it. Just I want a new voice on it. I actually like Brian Edward Hill's couple of issues he did on Batman. But at least I have the Tomasi Mankey detective right now. And of course the Warren Ellis Brian Hitch Batman Grave.
So I haven't read any Batman since Cold Days, which was a trial with Mr. Freeze. I haven't read any Batman since then. I haven't read any Detective Comics in quite a while.
Detective's been actually good.
Actually, before issue 1000, I haven't read Detective Comics. I haven't read. I stopped reading Action Comics and Superman on issue number 6. Not because they were bad, because they were actually really good. I'm waiting for a longer set of issues to read it. I don't know. I feel like I enjoy Bendy's work that way better than just reading it.
Honestly, his best work right now, other than Naomi, has been Pearl, which I told you that's the tattoo artist, the Asian tattoo artist.
Yes,
too.
I just learned about that. How am I a tattoo artist and love comics and did not know this thing exists? It's beyond.
And she takes over her the Yakuza of her.
Okay, so I guess
family.
I'm looking for that book this week.
Yeah, no, it's actually a fairly good read.
I mean, it's Bendis. I honestly haven't read a Bendis book that I haven't liked. Not saying he's perfect.
His Superman has not been good. His Action Comics, though. Detective 994, 99. Yeah, that was a good run, Perry.
Yeah, I have to check those.
The action stuff with the Leviathan I liked until I read the Event Leviathan miniseries.
I was waiting for that to finish to read it all.
I
get the trade and read it.
I was hoping it was going to be someone better who was Leviathan, but I won't spoil that for you. You might actually enjoy it. I was just kind of like,
All right, I'll check that. I checked that. Deceased came out. Trade came out the other day. Well, how fast? The same week issue 6 came out.
The Deceased is one of those series. It had the worst #1 issue I have read in a long time.
Really?
I was ready to jump off, and then 2 through 6 were great.
Oh yeah, okay.
But
so I have to check it out.
Issue 1, the art was bad. It was like Trevor Hairsine couldn't figure out where he wanted to go art style with it.
Yeah.
And then 2 through 6, the writing and the art finally kind of came together.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those weird things because it's kind of like how we talked on Magic Order, how Koipel, that first issue, kind of felt like he was feeling his way through it. And then the rest of the series, it was like, damn, on point.
Oh, now you mentioned Magic Order. Mark Millar, Chrononauts came out with a new book.
4 issues on the same day.
Right. And there's another trade that I missed the other day. It's like, when did he put these books out? I didn't even know, but there's a Miller book that I have to pick up this week.
Just all spec scripts that he wrote. Oh, it's like a comic.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay, so I have these things, so turn that into a comic. There you go, bam. And then sell that. Oh, he already sold that. It's not a problem anymore.
And since we have the new year coming up, what is your Grail hunt for the new year?
Oh man, I'm not looking for anything specific except for trying to finish my Uncanny X-Men run as much as possible. I think that's the only thing that I'm looking for. Right now.
I'm at the point where I know I can't afford an Amazing Spider-Man 121 graded. I've given up that.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $750.
If that's the case, I'm looking for giant size X-Men #1, and I don't care the grading, honestly.
If I can find a fairly mid to high grade Amazing Spider-Man 121 raw, I'll just pay. I'll pay to have it graded.
Yeah.
But like, I have to get nitrile gloves out and kind of flip through, make sure everything's in there that's in there. Because if I'm gonna pay a premium, even for a raw book,
yeah. I think that is my holy grail. Is it's giant size X-Men #1 and obviously Uncanny X-Men #1. Those are the two books that I want,
Well,
I know that I have the reprints of them, so I think that would be the closest to have.
Well, I had all my attainable grails before I lost my job at BNN.
Nice.
Where I sold them all right after I lost my job, but I had, First Electra, Death of Electra. I had the whole Dark Knight Returns, 9.6, 9.8.
Awesome. I have a Dark Knight Return #1. It's a 9.4 or something like that.
Oh, Perry, believe me, I understand the Omega Men 3 hunt. Oh, he's a huge Lobo fan, so that's.
Oh, I have 2 copies of Omega Man #3. One of them is signed by Keith Giffen. I have him sign it in at Dragon Con just because.
Speaking of Lobo, next month we're doing Lobo, Lacerinian, and Paramilitary Christmas for our book club. Because why not? I haven't read them in a long time, so
they're actually cool reads. I read the Lacerinian not long ago, and it's still a fun read. I mean, it's super dated, but it's still a fun read, and it's that what you want for a read like that's. It's perfect. I'm gonna bring two. I'm gonna bring to the Wisdom of Lobo. That is my absolute favorite book of all the books I've read. That is my absolute favorite book. I'm gonna bring that one. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that one too. It's a really great book.
So we're about to hit the hour mark, so I'm probably gonna start wrapping it up. Gambit, where can they find you?
Oh, Gambits Inc. On YouTube, it's Gambits Inc. On Facebook, it's Gambits Inc. GambitsInc.com. Twitter, it's Gambits Inc. Gambits Inc. I do tattoos. I do my own comic books. I do sketch cards for Dynamite Entertainment. I got a new set this week, but I can't talk about it. But I did work. Yeah, I can't say anything about it yet, but I can talk about the Fallout set that it's the Kickstarter is out right now. There's a Fallout card set and some of my sketch cards. No, all of my sketch cards are in that Kickstarter, so you can go ahead. It's on my. If you go to my Facebook, there's a link there where you can access it. And I did work with them. I did a Kiss set and a Vampirella set, and the other sets I can't talk about them yet.
You can find me on Twitter at Chopped Comic for the Comic Shop News one. On Instagram at dirty_epic. And after that, I'll be in West Palm for a little bit next week. Thanks, Yenny. And just hanging around trying to make videos because I really did a shit job this week making videos. I made none.
Oh wow, you're slacking, man.
I had some me time.
That's great. That's great. Actually, after Thanksgiving, I'm gonna take a break. I've been posting regularly, almost every day, art.
Yeah, in Florida, Perry.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take a break from the daily drawings and stuff, and I'm gonna concentrate on that time travel book that I started 2 years ago. So hopefully I'll have it published by May. Like the original plan was May this past year.
We're over by Cape Canaveral, Perry.
Yes. Oh, nice. Oh, so Perry is like on the other side.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then there's another guy, Rod the Rican. He's up in Winter Park.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
He does a kind of community shout-out show and some
nice.
other stuff weekly.
I'm planning on being on a tattoo convention in Tampa next year. So if you like tattoos, stop by. Or whatever I'm doing next year. I'm doing MegaCon. I'm planning on doing MegaCon in Orlando. So you can find me there too this next convention season. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And if
I kind of had fun doing the live stream.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have to edit too, so that's kind of nice. I really hate fucking editing. It takes up way too much of my time. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and for anybody watching this on the replay, let us know how we did. Anyway, we'll catch you around, and thanks, and this is the end.